Hello and welcome to Big Weekend here on the Football365 show, brought to you by Paddy Power. I'm your host Mark Smith. I'm here as ever with Editor-in-Chief of Football365.com, Sarah Winterburn. We've got a lot to talk about this week, as we seem to every week. It's been a busy midweek round of fixtures. We're going to talk about Spurs, we'll talk about United, Leeds, and sadly for Arsenal fans and for football fans in general, we'll be talking about Arsenal yet again. If you like the show, don't forget to like and subscribe and press the notification bell so you never miss a show going forward ever again. This is it. That's all the admin done. This is the Big Weekend on the Football365 show, brought to you by Paddy Power. Right, Sarah, let's start with Spurs versus Leicester. Spurs on the end of a not unexpected result against Liverpool, but maybe unexpected in the way it happened.
I don't think nothing unexpected at all there. I think Spurs went to Liverpool as we thought they would, happy to give Liverpool the possession, happy to sort of break. But that Spurs team relies on Kane and Son, and in this case Bergwijn, taking their chances, and they've got a fantastic, all the numbers suggest that they are over scoring in terms of how many goals they're scoring at the moment. So that method of play, that tactic relies on them scoring those chances. They didn't on the night, and some people say it went wrong for Spurs. The only thing that did go wrong was the fact that those chances weren't taken. That's exactly how Jose Mourinho wanted the game to go. He didn't want the ball. Anyone claiming that Liverpool, Liverpool did them because they had so much possession. That's exactly what Jose Mourinho wanted. It's just that they, in the end, didn't take their chances and Liverpool did.
Yeah, the plan sort of worked, didn't it? But to be honest, I don't have any sympathy at any level, let alone top of the league, Premier League. I have no sympathy for teams that can't take those chances. That is where the game is won and lost. Spurs had chances that they would have dreamed about before going into that game. Like you say, Bergwijn, he missed one just before the post as well, and then obviously Kane's header. But they can't feel aggrieved. They can't feel anything about that, can they? It was just very simple. The plan worked really for Spurs. You miss those chances, you're not going to succeed at any level.
Yeah, for all Jose's posturing about the best team lost. We expect that from Jose, and actually it's quite comforting when Jose comes out with that afterwards.
Yeah.
I get all discombobulated if he admits that his team was beaten fair and square. So him saying Spurs should have won that, he's absolutely right. They should have done it. It went exactly to plan. Yeah. Apart from you back Kane to take that chance, don't you? And you probably back Bergwijn more often than not.
Absolutely. They play Leicester this weekend. I'm going to go for a Spurs win as part of my four-way Paddy Power accumulator. Leicester disappointing midweek.
Yeah, Leicester they're a funny team, aren't they? You kind of want to count them in one week in terms of a top four battle, and the next week you kind of want to count them out again. I think there might be the squad is quite limited. Very similar to Everton, in fact. They've only so many players can sort of play to that standard. Some people will say this is a blow to Spurs in midweek. Can they bounce back? I think that's bollocks. This is, Spurs will carry on exactly as they were before. This is, they went to a team that hasn't lost at home in over 3 years. They lost, and played relatively well. I think they move on, and I think they beat Leicester this weekend.
Yeah, I think James Maddison hopefully is. It looks like he's back and in form. So there's always a chance with Leicester. But as I say, I think Spurs, and I'm going to go with they are bouncing back. And the Spurs win. Right, let's move on. I want to talk about Man United versus Leeds. What do I always say about Leeds games this weekend, Sarah? What do I always say about them this season?
You just say, you say that both teams are going to score. I know you're going to say that again.
Yeah, that is one. Yeah.
You're also going to say this feels real. It feels proper.
This
it feels
real.
Exciting.
This is but no more so than United versus Leeds. I'm back in the 90s.
This is the one that Leeds fans wanted to see, wasn't it? Man United may have bigger fish to fry. They may talk about Liverpool, they may talk about City, they may talk about Chelsea, but Leeds talk about Man United, don't they? And this is the one that they want. Yeah. And they would, how much would Leeds fans love it if they could sort of kick Man United a little bit this weekend and come out with 3 points?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Leeds have taken plenty of plaudits this season, and rightly so. They scored 5 midweek. They look like a really good outfit. They are relentless. They just don't stop. That might catch up with them in the new year.
Yeah, the numbers show that they're sprinting so much more than everyone else.
Yeah,
and and when I say more than everyone else, I mean there's a massive gap between them, and I think it's Southampton next on that list as that sort of hard-working team. There's can that be sustained over a season with a limited number of players? I'm not sure, but I think what they will try to do is get far enough ahead of the relegation battle by sort of January, February, that they can afford to sort of slow down a little bit at the end of the season. Their games are exciting, aren't they? They allow a load of chances. They're not very good defensively. They always create chances, and actually they're wasting more chances than they're taking. So they could be scoring a lot more goals. But this is exciting. This is, it forces Man United into an exciting game, doesn't it? And sometimes they need kicking and screaming pulling into that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. What's happened with them a lot this season is when they've played the better teams, they've always given a good account of themselves, but ultimately lost all 3 points. And I think they'll just be keen for that not to happen. So I have a feeling we're going to see a slightly less attacking Leeds team. Only slightly. But I'm going to go with both teams to score in this one as part of my accumulator.
Of course you are.
I don't know who's going to win that game, but certainly. But 5-5, sod it. Right, let's move on. Arsenal versus Everton. I know. It's Arsenal. It's so boring to watch. It's boring to talk about it. But look, we've got to do it. We've got to talk about Arsenal.
I don't know. I keep saying the same thing, don't I? That I'm waiting for them to open their legs and do something. And
yep.
So I think you can point to a positive in midweek. They lost a player again, which again is showing ill discipline. How many players are going to get sent off? But they didn't crumble afterwards, which is one plus point in their favour. They would take that point. When Gabriel got sent off, that could have crumbled again, and it didn't. They take a point. I mean, we've argued this week that maybe, Arsenal, if they bite the bullet on Arteta now, then who knows what might happen. Whereas I kind of get the feeling it still might happen, still might come right for him. Maybe I'm silly, maybe I'm just, enamoured with Mikel Arteta's hair.
You're just a dreamer.
And he has got lovely hair. So maybe it's that, I don't know. But this weekend, Arsenal-Everton, again, I think the problem with that Arteta's got, one, as a rookie in this very bizarre season, it's not made for rookies this season. We've seen, the teams that are overperforming this season are all managed by managers with a great deal of experience, because it's not an ordinary season. You don't get any time. You've got to manage your players better. It's not a time for a rookie. And again, we've seen Arteta come up against a manager who is ostensibly better than him. Ancelotti has got so much more experience, so much more nous. He's so much further down that line. I do fancy Everton to sort of add to Arsenal's woes again this season. This weekend.
Not dissimilar. Not dissimilar to the Solskjaer versus Bielsa battle in the previous game we talked about. Everton, a good result in the week against Leicester. I mean, is Hammers back? Is he backfiring, or is he out still? I didn't actually see the game last night. But when he's back, if he's back, they've got someone there who is a talisman for them. But like you say, with Arsenal, it was a good point against Southampton, because Arsenal fans won't like this, but Southampton are a better side than them. And for a long period of time, they were down to 10 men. So I think, some real grit and determination there. And could have won it in the last few moments with the Rob Holding header. Let's move on. Southampton versus Man City. I'll ask you a very straightforward question. Are Man City scary anymore?
No.
Okay. So what's going to happen in this game then?
Well, I think I'd back a draw. If I was a betting woman, I'm no longer a betting woman because I've got a wife. But I'd back a draw. I think Man City always just almost, aren't they? Almost there. I've written this week about Man City, why they haven't. It absolutely it confuses the hell out of me why they haven't bought a replacement for Sergio Aguero at any point over the last 4 years, when it's become obvious that Gabriel Jesus is not up to the task. He works very hard, etc., all those things that Pep Guardiola loves.
He's a good substitute striker. He's a good guy to bring off the bench. He isn't
a goal scorer by any stretch of the imagination. And that City, they've spent £650 million in 4 years. They haven't bought another striker, which I think is astonishing. Their best striker is 32, ever more fragile. They're desperate to get him back. Will that be enough? It probably will be enough to get them in the top 4. I still think they will do that. But this could have been a title challenge. It should have been a title challenge in a weird season, and it hasn't been. And so Southampton's another one of those games where they've pretty evenly matched this season. I think we're going to see a draw.
Yeah, I am a betting man.
Even
and
though
that's
you
because
have a
I've got a
wife,
wife.
you just don't tell
her.
I
won her in a raffle, you see. That's why. I do fancy a draw here as part of my accumulator. Southampton, every time I see them, they're an impressive side, very solid at the back. Both fullbacks, excellent. You've got a lovely combination, a lovely sort of synergy between Romeo and Ward-Prowse. And going forward, I mean, just so much fun to watch. I love what they're doing there. And I think actually a Man City draw isn't a bad result for Man City here at Southampton.
No.
Okay, let's move on. Final game we're going to talk about. and it's a proper London derby. It's Chelsea versus West Ham. This is a game that always has a bit of needle to it. I know it's not technically a London derby because it's not both the sides of London, but this always feels like a real proper game that everyone looks forward to if you're playing, and fans feel nervous about for 3 weeks before.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's been a clash of cultures over the years, hasn't it? I think, and there's a lot that's very similar about Chelsea and West Ham as clubs, and then a lot that's sort of diverged over the Roman Abramovich years. And I think that West Ham love getting one over on Chelsea, and finally this is a West Ham team who can do that. And Chelsea desperately need this result. It's so easily things go wrong, isn't it, this season, because everything's so tight, because the top half of the table is so tight that you lose a couple of games, and we've gone from talking about Chelsea 10 days ago, or even a week ago, and saying, oh well, wait a minute, this is a title challenging squad, and absolutely they should be. They lose 2 in a row, and you're kind of looking at it and thinking, if results had gone badly this week, they would have ended up in mid-table. And that's how quickly things can turn when things are so tight.
The space of 4 days.
It's absolute madness, and Chelsea are actually doing worse than they were this time last year, which has been lost in the fact that they've actually looked like they might win they're only title challengers because there's no Liverpool or Man City walking away with it this season. That's the reality. But they do need, 2 defeats is bad, 3 defeats is a crisis, I'm afraid. And if that happens this weekend, then there'll be a lot of questions being asked about Lampard.
Yes, in terms of West Ham, I've really been enjoying watching Ben Rama get a couple of starts. I think he's someone going forward who can be maybe the new, not Di Canio, but maybe Payet, one of those real cult players that West Ham fans take to their hearts. In this game, though, I'm going to go, as I have done a couple of times, for Timo Werner anytime. It's never happened for me, and in fact, one time I did it, he got missed of the season. Did it with Aubameyang for a while, and the 1 week I don't do it, he goes and scores. So Werner anytime for me in this one. He looks like a good player though, Werner, doesn't he? He looks like, even if he's not scoring goals, he looks like he's a thorn in the side of teams, always occupying space and defenders.
Yeah, Lampard's using him wrong. I think that's part of the problem. Against packed defences, his pace is absolutely pointless. It's useless. Yeah. And he ends up looking like he kind of doesn't really know what he's doing. And I'm talking about manager and player there. So I'm not sure I agree with you, but...
Right. It's an open forum, this one, Sarah, and I don't mind that. Although you won't be on the show next week. All right, that wraps it up for another week. This has been Big Weekend, brought to you by Paddy Power. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can email us. It's the editor@football365.com. Until next week, from me and Sarah, goodbye.